Welcome to In the Blue. I am your host, Dr. Corey Frogley, and as always, grateful to be with you today. We've got an amazing topic. In fact, we're going to give you 6 signs that your practice needs help. And if you're watching this, you might already know that, but you might not. And it's because you're hitting glass ceilings. Maybe you haven't reached your dreams, you haven't reached your vision, gotten as far as you'd like to get. When you came out of school, you had, we all have these amazing visions and dreams of grandeur, but maybe they are attainable if you had the right person, the right coach. And I'm a huge believer that it doesn't matter what level you're performing at in your life, you still need a coach. I mean, again, growing up just outside of Chicago, huge fan of Chicago Bulls, especially the Michael Jordan era. Even at his highest level, he had a coach, and him and Phil Jackson and other mental coaches, other performance coaches that assisted that level of performance. I know in my practicing days, I obtained my highest profits when I was working with a coach. So we're not on here today to sell you on a coach necessarily, as what we're trying to help you understand is the systems, the pieces of the practice that you need to be looking at to determine if you're expanding your practice or practices in its optimal manner. So my guest today is my good friend, Dan Blair. He is going to be covering today 6 points that will really help you investigate and ask those hard questions within yourself and within your management team and the systems that are operating your practice. Now, Dan comes to us with 25 years of corporate leadership, working with multi-location healthcare practices in the dental space. He is a master at creative problem solving, strategic planning. I mean, this is a guy that not only has his business background and his MBA, but he also has several other credentials behind his name that too long to list, because this guy is a Jedi Knight of taking a practice and kabooming it. So Dan, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Corey. I appreciate it. Like always, pleasure being with you for sure. Thank you.
I like the goatee going on, brother.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, a little bit more gray than I would like, but I guess that just comes with the territory.
Hey, that's wisdom. That just goes to show, especially what you've been through lately. Poor Dan had down in Arizona, had some storms come through. No fun. He's playing pick up the sticks after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Corey. Appreciate it.
Well, let's jump into this, Dan. What is the first sign that a practice needs CPR?
So one of the biggest things that we see is high employee turnover, right? When you have high employee turnover, it's never good for the practice or the office. That you can't go ahead. It takes time and it takes money to train employees, to go ahead and get them up to speed. And not only that, but what about from our patient's point of view? Patient retention. If I'm coming into the office every 6 months or sooner, and I'm seeing a different face up front or a different face in the back, it doesn't bode well for the practice, right? What's going on? Oh, what happened to Susie, or what happened to Kim? Oh well, it just shows that there's something going on.
It makes it look like you're really hard to work for.
Exactly. Yeah. And, is it the doctor? Is it the office? And it can be toxic in the office, right? When you go ahead and you have high employee turnover, is it because we have a person in there that's making it difficult to go ahead and work with the other teammates? Is it a problem of leadership? Is it a problem that we don't have the right tools of what we're trying to go ahead and do? I mean, there's so many different things that can go into that. And that's why it's important that when you do start to notice that, you want a coach or a consultant to take a deep dive into that. I think that one of the things that is unique to us in Dental Advantage is that we do have that experience. We have 3 full-time consultants that basically we all have 15 or more years of experience through corporate dentistry at a high level, executive level, that between all 3 of us, we had over 60 practices together, $250,000, $300,000 a month in revenue. And you want to be able to go ahead, and it's important that you have a coach or a consultant that you feel comfortable with, that you can connect with, that has the same vision and goals for your practice that you have as well.
Yeah, and I tell you, what a great asset for a coach to actually help you interview, help you put together the ads and to attract the right team people. And we've got some other shows. If you haven't watched some of our past shows, I scroll through our shows because we've got some pretty incredible shows on how to hire, how to attract the right team members and those type of things. So that's number one, high employee turnover. Let's dive into point number two.
So current marketing plan. How is your current marketing plan doing, right? Are you getting the return on investment? I don't know how many times I've gone into an office and they're like, yeah, we're doing marketing. Great. What's your return on your marketing? Oh, yeah. I don't know. Well, who's checking it or who's tracking it?
Who's tracking it? Yeah.
Those are the things that, when we're looking at it from, because marketing is important to the dental aspect, to not only the dental, but to chiropractic, to any small business owner. Marketing is key, right?
Yeah.
And we want to know if you are spending the dollars on there, what is your return? Are we tracking it? Do you know where those dollars are being spent? Is it another thing? Are we going to have our front office tracking it on a spreadsheet, right? Do we really want to throw one more thing on their plate for them to go ahead and do? Do we have things in place to go ahead and track that? So those are the things we want to take a look at. We might say, well, you know what? I think my marketing is doing well. We've been putting the ad in this paper for the same, okay, well, how many new patients do you get out of that, doc?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, are they asking, how did you hear about us? No, I don't. I don't know. Those are the things that you really want to go ahead and be able to pay attention to. We want to be able to track that. We want to be able to see. We're not going to throw good money to bad money, right? So we want to make sure.
And the marketing landscape has changed so drastically over the last 5 years that for a practice, whether it's a dental practice, chiropractic, medical practice, they can't afford to just sit back and try to figure it out. I mean, this is taking some serious expertise in understanding digital marketing and where those dollars are. And the beautiful thing about digital marketing now is that it is so trackable. We can track it down to the penny and really identify the practice's new patient acquisition cost per marketing channel.
Absolutely. With that, with the marketing, to your point on there, Corey, I mean, it used to be before you just go ahead and, you're a doctor, you go ahead and put a sign out on the door and you put a sign in the window that says you're open, and all of a sudden you have 20 patients, right?
Yeah. Throw a yellow page ad in.
Has absolutely changed, not only with corporate coming in now and you have the corporate offices that are coming in, you have the smaller offices that need to go ahead and revamp what that marketing aspect looks like. Social media is just not enough anymore. Everyone's on social media now. So what are we doing different? Are we looking at what's going to go ahead and connect us to our patients? And how, most of all, when we do get those patients in, how are we retaining those patients?
Yeah. No, I love that. And I love the concept of tracking a patient from the marketing campaign all the way through their spend in the office, 90 days, 6 months, 12 months. To see your ROI in your marketing. I'm a huge believer that practices don't spend enough money on good marketing. And it's because they're having so many bad experiences with bad marketing. And that's why we really endorse what you guys do. And I love working with you because you guys understand data like nobody understands data. And they can take that data and really calculate the return. They can really identify what's working, what's not, and scrap that because, look, you've been doing this for 6 years and it's ridiculous. You're not spending that much each month, but if you look at it on a year, your actual acquisition cost for that per patient for that channel is ridiculous. We can scale that down, and that takes data, that takes understanding, and I know you guys have that.
Absolutely, and we have reporting mechanisms that will go ahead and help with that to track your reputation in the community, who's talking about you, what your activity is on your websites, what your activity is through your social media, what are your impacts with who's looking at what are the impressions. All of those things are trackable, in which we can go ahead and provide those things. Even if you do have marketing, you have a consultant right now. Ask them, how are they tracking that? How do we know that we're getting the most out of our investment that we possibly can? And if they cannot go ahead and provide tracking, it might be time to go ahead and take a look at who might be able to go ahead and do that for you.
Yeah. I mean, even social media marketing, right? You can do a lot of it and not spend a dime. You can do a lot of marketing through the social channels. And if the doctors aren't on social media and developing their reputation, the thing that costs a lot, that may take some investment, is to cut through the noise, because there is so much noise on social media that your stuff has to stand out. And learning how to do that and produce it properly so it does stand out. Oh, I don't know too many docs that have that ability. They need some help, and that's where, again, a coach can really help you maximize the free marketing tools that are out there.
Absolutely. There are a lot of tools that are you don't necessarily have to go ahead and spend, thousands of dollars on marketing. There's very good tools that are out there that can go ahead and utilize that.
Yeah,
But what is your focus? Your focus is your local market. You want to go ahead and make sure that you're the provider of choice in your local market,
yeah,
regardless of
dominate it.
whatever that is, right?
Got to
So
dominate
the
it.
marketing has to be strategic, it has to be localized, it has to go ahead and make you the expert in your domain.
Yeah,
And that's the key part to the marketing aspect for sure.
yeah, I love that. So I've noticed a lot of practices, we pull in their data with Blue IQ, we look at their trends. So many of them, we look at a 3-year trend right off the bat for them, and production is flat, new patients are flat, and they're just going along thinking, I'm doing pretty well, but it's just flat. And what's your perspective on flat?
So, Corey, you bring up a great point, right? Because I've always gone by what gets measured gets improved, right? If we, it's when you think everything is going well in the practice is when you really have to dive in, right? Because there's something that is missing and there's something that's not there. And from my experience, what I've seen is, by having a KPI dashboard like Blue IQ that goes ahead and brings that awareness to you, and coupling that with coaching to go ahead and show you how these numbers go ahead and impact certain aspects of your business.
Hmm.
On average, you've seen anywhere from 10 to 15% growth, year over year growth in the practice, from staying flat to going to 10%. And I mean, we're talking 10 to 15% in offices that are 10 years old or over. I
Hmm.
mean, this is where the results come in. Now, with our consulting, what we've seen that number go to 15 to 20 plus.
Wow.
But that's just because of we have the expertise of over the last 15 years of really diving into the numbers, and anyone that knows the way that corporate works, they're all
Hmm.
driven off of KPIs, and that's what
Absolutely.
we've lived over the last 20 plus years, is going after the KPIs, looking at how does that impact. If we go ahead and impact this, what is our end result, and how does that go ahead and impact here? So all of those things will go ahead and result in taking the bump. As we look at the numbers, we can go ahead and see, and we'll talk about some of those benchmarks, right? I mean, do we know as a practice where our benchmarks are? Do we know where we should be for case acceptance?
Yeah.
But we're at 75% case acceptance. Is that good? I don't know. What kind of practice do we have, right? Do we have a
Yeah.
practice that utilizes lower volume with higher dollars, or do we have high volume with lower dollars? So maybe that percentage is great because you're doing $10,000, $20,000 cases.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not so great because you're only doing $1,000 or $2,000 cases, so that should be up a little bit higher towards 80% or more.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we really look at, but the data helps us sift through that without all, like you said, Corey, without all the noise.
Yeah.
Here's a snapshot. This is what we're looking at. Let's drive that.
Cool. Yeah. Again, you hear it so often, but it's so true that you just don't know what you don't know. And so here's these practices that are just plugging away. They're comfortable, right? They're doing okay, but with a little bit of effort and a little bit of focus, they could dramatically drive revenues another 20%, 40%. I've even seen practices literally double their revenues just by understanding. A book that we recommend highly out there is Four Disciplines of Execution, is just, again, setting goals and understanding what your important big focus goal is, and how to get to it, right? And that's where your tools come into play and what you guys help focus on. Let's set a goal, let's get to it. When do we need to get to that by? And then let's break that up into bite-sized chunks and start moving the ship in that direction.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's the biggest thing. A part of when we're looking at a practice and we want to go through. We had a practice that was basically 20-year-old practice, very very profitable practice. Everything was going well, but doctor doesn't want to go ahead and work 5 days a week and see 30 patients a day. He wants to
Right.
scale back. He has an associate, so now he has a team that isn't very familiar with numbers, has a new associate that wants to know what those numbers look like. So a key part of not only that is getting the team on board. There's offices out there that their teams have no idea where they stand as far as production, and getting the team involved, having the team interject and really go ahead and believe in what the direction is going, and they've seen the results and seeing that, the whole atmosphere changes, right? I mean, you can feel it. They feel good about it. They're helping more patients. They're doing more dentistry or more treatment, whatever the industry is, and they feel good about it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So let's go into technology because technology is just rapidly advancing. How do these practices stay up on the tools that are available for them?
Well, the technology is improving, like you said, Corey, every day. I mean, look, take for example, Blue IQ. I mean, the KPI dashboard is huge, right? An analytic dashboard to go ahead and to show the doctors exactly where their practice stands, where they might need some help, and how do they go ahead and get there. Those are all things that need to be done. In dental, you have, are you using a CEREC machine? I mean, those are things. How much are you spending in lab bills when you can go ahead and bring that in? Yes, it's an initial investment of about $140,000, but what is it to your patients? Your patients that can come in and get a crown in the same day, the
Hmm.
quality of that experience, rather than getting numb twice, coming back,
Yeah.
sending it to the lab, having, all of those things. Digital pictures, what does that look like? When we have a patient that we do work on, we show them before and after photos. How impactful is that? Or to that
Hmm.
patient that was kind of iffy about the treatment, and you show them what happened before and where they are now. Those are things that are very impactful that can go ahead and help. As we alluded to before, with the marketing, the production, the KPI dashboard. Do you guys have a KPI dashboard that you're looking at on a daily base to go ahead and see where you're at? You know, if you're waiting until the end of the month or till your P&L comes out, by then it's too late to go ahead and make those changes in the office, right? For that month. You can make
Yeah.
them going forward, but each month we need to go ahead and be able to have an objective. What is our goal? What are we budgeted for? And where did we exceed? Did we meet? What does that look like? And if we did or we didn't, what was the difference? What did we do different that we didn't do here? And those are all things that play into the technology aspect, because you don't know what you don't know. How do I know that production went up over last month if I don't have a tool that can go ahead and show me? Or
Yeah.
how do I know that that campaign that I sent out on Facebook is now just went ahead and is getting tracked, and I can see that, oh, it looks like Tuesdays is a great day to go ahead and show posts. It looks like we had the most open on Tuesday at 5 a.m. So now let's target that way. Technology that you can use to go ahead and really impact your business. And
Yeah.
a good coach or a good consultant can bring those tools to you to go ahead and show you and teach not only yourself, but the team how to go ahead and utilize those tools to become more effective and more efficient in the operation.
I love it. One of those points in that is automating their life, getting everything they can, bills being paid, their bookkeeping, their morning huddle, even just everything in automation. Because if they can just bring the data to them at their fingertips and they have a good coach feeding them what next steps are, gosh, you guys, if you just put in a little bit of energy, what you could create is, I mean, if you can imagine it, you can achieve it. And that's the beauty of this, because you've got to ask yourself this next question. And this is Dan's point of you looking deep into your soul and asking, are you happy?
Exactly. You know, that's one of the biggest things that, at the end of the day, if you don't enjoy what you do, you're in the wrong position, right? And I know that at the end of the day, you know, as yourself on that, Corey, you've been through a lot of schooling, a lot of hard work to go ahead and get to where you're at. Now you're out of school, and you have these grandeur, right, you know, dreams, like you said, and then you get into it and you're like, well, wait a minute, I didn't know I had to do this. I just wanted to go ahead and I just wanted to treat patients and do things well, and now I got to worry about all these other things, payroll and HR and all these other things that come along with running a business. And if you're not happy, you're going to go ahead and that's going to transpose onto your team. That's going to transpose onto your patients. All of those things are going to impact, and it becomes toxic in the office. Your patient knows if you don't want to be there, or if you're rushed,
Right.
or if something's going on with you, right?
Yeah,
Same thing with your staff. And when you walk into that office, if my first impression is looking at that front office and they're home, they're all hi, you know, that kind of thing. It's no, you know, excitement. I'm happy. My doctor's happy. I'm happy. I'm glad to be here, you know, and those are things that are important. So automating, making your life easy. You don't want to deal with all that stuff. All you want to do is come in, treat your patients well, have a good quality of life for you and your family. What more can you go ahead and expect? So you have to ask yourself, are you truly happy with what you're doing? Are you running in every direction? Are you running with your hair on fire? And at the end of the day, you're like, I seen 30 patients, I made no money, and I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Those are the things that really impact, hey, are we happy or are we not happy, right?
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, I've started a lot of businesses in my life, and the volume of money coming in has never been my personal measure of happiness. Now, when money's coming in, it's easier, but there are times, if you understand the sales pipeline, and if you understand marketing, if you understand operations, that there's going to be times when there's money crunches, and you understand that, you get through it. What the happiness comes from is achieving truly what you're passionate about. It's building that amazing practice. It's balancing it with time with your family and with your passions and with your hobbies, and making sure it's in balance, that it's not offset. And again, I think the value of a coach is they probably can see you in or out of balance better than you probably can. And they've been there and they work with people and know how to help you find that balance. I mean, to me, that's pretty priceless.
You know, Corey, that's one of the things that when we deep dive that we ask, we one of the things that we do ask is we do ask the fact is, what are the three things in your practice that if you could change, what would you change today? And what does success look like to you? Success
Right.
looks different to everyone. I've had doctors that their success is that, you know, I'm happy with what I'm doing right now. I just, you know, we're making money, we're fine. I just want to go ahead and tighten up operations a little bit, be a little bit more effective and efficient,
Yeah.
those kind of things. We have some doctors that are looking to transition out, that
Yeah.
now they need a coach to go ahead and help coach their associate to get to a point where they feel comfortable with the production level, because now they feel, okay, I don't need to work 5 days a week. I can cut back to 3 or 2 days a week because production is not going to suffer because my associate is up. In a practice that you're seeing that many patients, how do you have time to coach? How do you shoulder coach? So
Yeah.
you need someone that has done that, someone that can go ahead and coach with an associate and show them how to go ahead and talk to patients, how to treatment plan, how to get case acceptance. Those are all things that will go ahead and, I know, Corey, if I'm coaching with one of your associates, that's going to make you happy if you don't need to come in and coach with them,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, for
So
sure. Well, that takes us to our last point then, point number 6, and that is operational benchmarks.
So operational benchmarks, I think that's near and dear to both of our hearts on there, Corey. I mean, obviously with the KPI dashboard and, you know, looking at that, and when we're looking at the numbers, we want to know, you know, well, is that good? You know, I have case acceptance, and you know, what does my case acceptance look like? Based upon the numbers that we have, and some of, we've looked at about 550 practices, and we have some top performers, we have some of the lower percentage performers. And I just threw a couple of things together that I just wanted to go ahead and for those that are out there that don't know where their benchmarks are, or might have, this might be a good way to go ahead and gauge. And if you're asking yourself, I don't know what my case acceptance is, I don't know what my retention is, that could be definitely an issue, right? Yeah. So we want to be aware of that. Case acceptance, case completeness, hygiene recare, accounts receivable, those kind of things. So from what we looked at, on average, our highest performers were about 80% with case acceptance. 62% was about the top 25, and then the lower 25 was about 46%. So if you're falling within that range, obviously you want to go ahead, depending upon the practice, we alluded to it a little bit before, but 80% is really what we want to go ahead and shoot for on with case acceptance. We know 20% is going to go ahead and either not schedule, or something might come up, or might be financial, whatever the case is, but a good coach can go ahead and help you work through that case acceptance as well. Yeah. Case completion. From case acceptance to case completion, we want to drive that number as close as possible. If we're getting 80% completed, or 80% accepted, I should say, we want to have 100% of that completed, right? So yeah, that's where we want to go ahead and drive that. Our top performers are at 100% completion, and our lower performers are at 83% completion. Now, again, depending upon if I'm presenting $10,000, $20,000 packages of treatment, maybe that might be a little bit lower, but our dollar amounts are higher, Yeah. Hygiene Recare. How many patients are coming back through hygiene? Our top performers are 87%. Our lower performers are at 63%. That's where we can go ahead and dive in. Accounts receivable. How long is it taking for us to go ahead and get paid? Our top performers are getting paid with less than 30 days. Our lower performers are getting paid in 60 plus days. What does that do to our bottom line? If it's taking me 60 days to go ahead and get paid, yeah, that can be an issue, right?
Yeah, inefficient.
Adjustments is another one. What are we adjusting? Are we adjusting things off in the practice? Our top performers are adjusting 3% or less. Our lower performers have 11% adjustment. Now that can be from lack of prep up front, in regards to, are we calling the insurance? Do we have the right things in place? Are we doing the right things to go ahead and make that happen? Or when we get it back, are we just writing it off? And we have thousands of dollars that we're writing off each month because we don't have the right things in place, the operations in place to go ahead and make that happen. So those are just a few of the benchmarks that we look at, that we really want to go ahead and impact with the office as well. And if you're falling within some of those guidelines and you're doing well, great, keep doing what you're doing, right? But if there's some things that you see that, I'm falling into that lower performing, let's deep dive. Let's find out exactly what's happening in the practice.
Well, and I hate to say it, but some of our audience may not even be aware of where they're at. And so one of the cool things that Dental Advantage offers is a 1-hour free consult to look at your data, to look at your operations, to understand your hopes and dreams, to look at inefficiencies in the practice for free. And yeah, obviously they're a consulting group. They would love to bring you on, but that's not what this is about. This is really helping your practice achieve its optimal vision, because that's going to help you with your balance in your life and in your dreams. And that's where Dental Advantage really can step in and help fulfill a role that's going to be a game changer for you.
And Corey, we appreciate that. We've had a great relationship with you and Blue IQ, and some of the things when we do, especially for not only clients that are out there, but for your clients as well, looking at a deep dive into the practice, not only the numbers of the practice, but also looking at the marketing aspect. How is your website? Are you mobile ready? When little Johnny is out there and breaks a tooth playing sports, and mom is on the phone trying to go ahead and look up a dentist, if I have to zoom up and scroll and do all this stuff to go ahead and look at your website on my phone, you're getting passed over. You're getting on to the
Mm.
next. So we look at all aspects of the practice to go ahead and to really show that where we can go ahead and improve. But ultimately, it's up to you to go ahead and decide what that looks like.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, Dan, thanks for joining us today. As always, we are in the blue and grateful for you joining us today. We're here every Friday. We are live 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, and grateful to have you here today. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Corey. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.